Origin of South African English language. In case of South African English language, we have to discuss about the Dutch colonist. Arrived in Cape Town in 1652. British people arrived in South America much later. British arrived in 1795. Before British people, Dutch went there in Cape Town. That was in 1652. That means nearly 100 years, 140 years back, British people arrived in South Africa, especially during the Napoleonic Wars. And British colony established in South Africa in 1806. A policy of settlement began in 1820. Some 5,000 British were given lands in the eastern Cape Town. Here you see the map, the Cape Town. Here. So British people went to South Africa later. First the Dutch people went there. But when British went there in South Africa in 1806, they established their colony in South Africa in 1820. At that time, there was a treaty that was signed between the British people and the South African government. The South African people or the government, they allowed a land for 5,000 British settlers to live in Cape Town. English language made the official language in 1822 to anglicize the large African-speaking population. And in 1822, English language became the official language of Africa. English became the language of law, education, and the most other aspects of public life. Further British settlement followed. That means in 1840 decades to 1850 decades, especially in Natal, a coastal South African province is known for its beaches and mountains. Here, many British people settled there in 1840 and 1850 decades. A massive number of Europeans came for the gold. We have learned, we know that the South African country, we see several gold mines are there, and attracted by this gold and the diamond, many Europeans went to South Africa, and especially they went to the Natal area. This is the beach area, the coastal area, and especially one place is famous, that is called Witwatersrand. Nearly 500,000 immigrants, many of them English-speaking, arrived in the country during the last quarter of the 19th century. This is Witwatersrand, a 56-kilometer long north-facing scrap in South Africa. As you see, very beautiful coastal area and the rocks area. It consists of a hard erosion-resistant rock over which several north-flowing rivers from waterfalls which count for the name Witwatersrand, meaning a reach of white waters in Afrikaans. So this area, and this area is very beautiful to look at. This is the coastal area of Africa, and for this region, many people, European people, went there and settled there. This is one reason. And another reason, this area is famous for gold and diamond. And at the time of the Napoleon War, the British people went there. A series of major conflict by the French Empire and its allies, led by Napoleon I, against a fluctuating array of Europe, financed and led by the United Kingdom, produced a brief period of French domination over the most of the Europe. So Napoleon Bonaparte, the Napoleon I, occupied the most part of Europe. Though Napoleon didn't try to occupy Britain, however, the Napoleon War, where did the Napoleon War happens? The British people helped. The British people fought uh, against Napoleon. Great Britain and France fought for European supremacy and treated weaker powers heavy-handedly. So the Napoleon and the British government, they had been fighting, and within the both group they have had some allies, they had some friend, but these British people, the British and the French, they were trying to get control of the power of Europe and this fight. And at that time, many people left Europe and went to African countries. First reason, that these are the very beautiful place to live. These are the coastal area, but for the cause of the hard rocks, this area is erosion free. And also another reason is that these are the gold and diamond prone area. These are the history of the Napoleon Wars. After the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte became powerful and involved into 5 conflicts: the Third Coalition, the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, and the Seventh. Napoleon could never invade the UK because the British military power was very strong, and for this reason, Napoleon Bonaparte didn't occupy Britain. United States attempted to remain neutral during the Napoleonic period, but eventually became embroiled in the European conflict, leading to the war of 1814 against Great Britain. Napoleon's motto, liberty and public order. Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated by 2 of the armies of the 7th coalition, in the last 7th coalition, an Anglo-led allied army under the command of Duke of Wellington, and a Prussian army under the command of Gebhard Leverage von Blücher. So this army, Napoleon Bonaparte was successful in his 4th commission, but in the 5th commission, in the last commission, Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated by the British army under the guidance of the Duke of Wellington. So the origin of South American English. So many people went over there after establishing the British colony in South Africa. The English language history of the origin has thus many strands, because not only the Dutch went there, British people went there, and many settlers from America went there. A certain amount of regional dialect variation among the different groups of British settlers, with the speech of the London area prominent in the Cape. So first, British people established their colony in Cape Town. So in Cape Town, we see the standard English is used. However, the other parts of South Africa, we see the pronunciation pattern is different, because people from different parts of England or Britain or UK went to South Africa. And for this region, in Cape Town, we see the standard British English is used, but other parts we see not the standard English. However, the regional English English language is used in the other parts of South America. Midland and the northern British speech is strongly represented in Natal, that means the beach area. Successively, a homogeneous accent emerged, similar to the accent of Australia, and settled during this period. However, in the whole country of South Africa, we see that a similar pronunciation pattern we notice, and that is similar to the pronunciation pattern of Australia. In addition, English, second language by the Afrikaans speakers, and many Dutch colonists accepted English language on the Great Trek. In 1836, they moved north to escape the British rule. What is the Great Trek? You see, this is the Great Trek. The Great Trek that was starting in 1836 in the southern Africa, a mass migration of the Dutch-speaking inhabitants of the British-run Cape Colony left the Cape Town, traveled eastward, interior of the continent to live beyond the reach of the British colonial administration. In 1836, the people, as you see in the picture, many people left this area, especially occupied the British colonial power. They left this area and went to the eastward part or the interior part of this South Africa. So the Natal area, the beach area, was mainly occupied by the British settlers, because the people, African Aboriginal people, they left this part and went to the interior part of Africa. They wanted to avoid British administration. So here, many people left at the time of the Great Trek. An African variety of English also developed, spoken by the black population, learned in mission school, was influenced by the various language backgrounds of the speakers. In addition, English was used with Africans and ethnically mixed background immigrants from India. However, in school, in mission school, and also the Indian immigrants who went to South Africa, they use English language, and that is the British standard English. This is the Indian Ocean, the map of South Africa here. And this is Cape Town. This is the coastal area. And after the Great Trek, the people left this area and went to the interior part of Africa. So this coastal area people, they use English language that is similar to the standard British language. English, a minority language in South Africa, currently is spoken as a first language only by about 3.7 million in a 2002 population of over 43.5 million. Afrikaans language, given official status in 1925, the first language of the majority of whites, which in power and symbol of Afrikaner background, first language of the most colored population. English language used by the remaining whites of British background, and by increasing number of the 70% majority black population. So 70% black population use English language over there, though they are minority in comparison to the total population of South Africa. Thus, a linguistic political divisions resulted South African apartheid society. In Africa, there is a division, racism in Africa. There is a great division between the white people and the black people. The black people would use different school, different market area, and like that. The white people is also different school, different marketplace, different bus, everywhere. And such kind of racial division in South Africa is called apartheid. Afrikaans perceived by the black majority as the language of authority and repression. English perceived by the Afrikaner government as the language of protest and self-determination. Many blacks in this regard saw English as a means of achieving an international voice and uniting themselves with other black communities. In such a division, why black people use English language, they see that English language is a symbol of unity among the black people living in Africa. And also, if they use English language, they will have an international voice. They will have an identity to recognize themselves as English speaker in the world community. History of African language, actually. Creole language evolved during the 19th century under the colonialism in South Africa. A simplified Creolized language, roots in Dutch, mixed with seafarer variants of Malay, Portuguese, Indonesian, and the indigenous Koki and San language. So this African language is a mixture of several languages: Malay, Dutch, Portuguese. That is Afrikaans language, and that is used by many people in Africa. Afrikaners have become increasingly bilingual with fluent command of an English resembles the British English. And Afrikaner politicians give public statement in English. Seen on world television illustrate this ability. As a result, accents are strongly influenced by Afrikaans, very close to British received pronunciation. Afrikaners are bilingual. They use that Creole language or Cockney language that is derived from the mixture of Dutch, Portuguese, and Malay language. However, many people use British English. The politicians and the other people also use English language that is similar to the British language. In 1993, Constitution names 11 languages as official, including English and Afrikaans. We know that in India, many languages are used. A same pattern we see in Africa, that 11 languages have become the official language of Africa. Is an effort to enhance the status of the community's indigenous languages. Actually, many indigenous languages are used in Africa in order to promote all the indigenous languages or the minority languages in the status of the country. 11 languages have become official language, and out of these 11 languages, English and Afrikaans, these two languages are also included. Such an ambitious multilingual policy shows the difficulties of administrating an 11 languages formula. However, English will continue to be an important lingua franca. Among the 11 languages are used. People can communicate with other parts of the people, or in official communication, or in education, one of these 11 languages. However, the common languages, that is English. It is not the Afrikaans. So English language has become the common language for communication among these 11 linguistics groups living in South Africa. However, enthusiasms for the language continues to grow among the Black population. In 1993, government surveys among Black parents demonstrated an overwhelming choice of English as the preferred language in which children should receive their education. So in 1993, the Guardian and the students, they also choose English language as the language of education. And in the South African Parliament in 1994, English language continued to dominate the proceedings with 87% of all speeches being made in English in South African Parliament. As we have known that 11 official languages are there in Africa, but in Parliament, 87% cases English language is used. In education also English language is used. The guardian and the students are very much prone to use English language, and however among these 7 different linguistics group, a common language is used for communication, that is English. So thank you very much for attending the class. This is the history of South African English. Okay, so we have talked about the history of South African English over there. So if you have any question, now we are here to